Just last weekend, Emirates GBR took the win in the SailGP Grand Final, and it was what I think is probably the best lap of sailing I've ever seen, so quite fitting for this final. Not the windiest race, but really one for the sailing connoisseurs. We had a JK 180 manoeuvre in marginal foiling conditions to open this lap up, followed by two foiling tacks to claim the right hand turn at the top and on to the favoured jibe on the downwind. A beautiful lap. But in there as well, there was two boat-on-boat interactions with the Australians where the whole strategy could have fallen apart. So what does it take to put a lap like that together? We're going to get inside the mind of Emirates GBR skipper Dylan Fletcher, and who better to help us do this than Dylan Fletcher himself. So welcome to the channel, and first of all, congratulations on your win in the final.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me, Mozzy.
I want to get into the details because from my perspective, I watched this lap and it was a thing of beauty, but a bit of a sluggish start. You were at the back of the fleet coming into the first leeward gate and opted for a JK, which in my mind is a pretty risky manoeuvre. So I'd like to know if that was like part of the game plan to start with, or something you just threw the dice on with it being the grand final.
Yeah, I think the JK kind of stemmed from, we always wanted that right turn at the top, and after sort of going round in like sort of second, third, we wanted to split early and get that overspeed for that right turn at the bottom. The Kiwis were slow, and we always wanted the right turn at the top. So the JK, we'd been practicing it out a few times that day in the racing, and felt like the right moment. I mean, ultimately, you know, it's win or swim, isn't it? In those races, you've got to go for it.
No, I saw that, and I did notice in the first race of the day, you pulled off a JK on the leeward mark, went from 5th to 1st in that race. So I think the others could have maybe seen it coming. I was a bit surprised that the Australians went straight and did the left turn. I think it could have maybe been a bit more interesting if they'd taken the right turn last minute. That maybe made decisions a bit harder for those behind.
Oh, completely. I think that, you know, if the Aussies had taken that right turn, it would have been quite different. And I think from looking at all the track record of finals and grand finals and what people do, it's always a difficult decision to do an extra jibe when you're pointing towards a mark going quite quickly, you know. You want to limit the risk.
So you take this JK, it's a full 180 manoeuvre, marginal conditions, but you nail that, you pull it off, and that's lining you up. You're already thinking ahead to this kind of next leg, really, in that right-hand mark at the top going down. But as you come out the JK, I guess you'll start to see Australia looming, and this is where these two interactions come on this beat. And I think for the sailing audience, when you see a boat on starboard, you're often thinking, I've got two options here. I either tack or I duck, and it's pretty binary either way. But what I liked about your beat was you really managed those interactions to preserve your strategy. So the first one is what I kind of call a low duck. I'm not sure if you have a terminology for it, but you really accelerated. Can you just talk about the thinking behind that first interaction with the ruse?
Yeah, absolutely. So they tapped on starboard. They were off the foils at that point, so we know they're going to be pressing down towards us. So although there might be a cross on, there wasn't a cross on if we wanted to stay foiling, and obviously we had a long-term plan for the beat. So again, as you say, low duck, drop the bow, get a nice overspeed, and then try and do a decent tight duck on them, and then you gain that VMG back that you've lost ultimately from ducking them, or you gain some of it back.
Yeah, it's really nice. I guess at that point, you're kind of accelerating into that duck and finding yourself further right on the course. Doesn't matter in the strategy at that point because you can still make up those angles on the next two tacks into the windward mark. So, yeah, really, really nice to see. Nail the next foiling tack and the next one. You're then on a pretty comfortable lay into the right-hand mark at the windward, which is what you're aiming for. But up pop Australia again, coming into that mark, and this time you do kind of the complete opposite manoeuvre and do what I call a high duck. So you kind of like scrub off some of that speed, go into a high mode and kind of let them get across your bow before going for the duck. So talk us through why that was the right call in the later situation.
Yeah, so the moment at the top of the Aussies, if we'd have done a low duck or a normal duck, we wouldn't have been able to make it around that right turn, as you say. So Yeah, high duck, burn the VMG off by sailing quite high. It takes a while to do that because you're actually gaining VMG initially. You're going quite well, and then you have to. The big burn is on the duck effectively. And for us, everything in that manoeuvre was all about staying on the foils. Both the other boats were off the foils, heading to the unfavoured marks. That was for me make or break of the whole race.
Super nice to see you slide round the back of that Aussie boat and then still peel off onto the foils, and from there it was relatively easy race. From the fans at home, it looks like you've just come from a miracle shift, but the planning goes back over a leg and a half, so super cool. I would say though, this strategy still revolved around nailing a JK and 2 foiling tacks. What can you say about the team coordination for those foiling tacks? Because we didn't see the Kiwis doing it. And also from a tech point of view, you were racing on these kind of like intermediate large wings and the larger foils. Does some of the kind of setup of the boat play into that strategy being within reach?
Absolutely. It was the first time we were all racing on this new 27.5 metre wing, and we were all trying to get our heads around it. We'd done one day foiling basically before, and so trying to understand what's your minimum entry speed at what true wind angle, and it's a real trade-off because your VMG upwind in those conditions is below your foil tack speed. So if you want a foiling tack, you're actually costing yourself a bit of VMG, but you hope to make that back during the tack itself. I think we feel very confident as a team of our boat handling across all conditions, but especially in those light, we've seen that we've got Goose Parker in hand. They do an amazing job of keeping the boat on its foils and going fast.
Yeah, nice. I had a theory about the kind of old, like really tall wings, that they're kind of like good for increasing the leverage and sailing in a one hull mode, but once you're up and foiling, they seem pretty cumbersome to get through some of the foiling manoeuvres. Do you think this new wing is a bit of a sweet spot in there in terms of getting through the foiling tacks?
It's certainly noticeably better than the 29 metre once you're foiling. You can still feel the extra weight and heft, and as you say, that sort of additional healing moment from up top. But I think that there's been some benefits there from the new T-foils sort of having a little bit more righting moment in general, which has helped work with that new big wing. In fact, I'd say the whole package we have in Abu Dhabi for SailGP compared to basically a year ago in Dubai, it was leaps and bounds better and really did give us better racing.
Yeah, well, no, thank you for that. Thank you for the insights about what is an incredible lap and just so many details which go into piecing that together, coming from behind to overtake 2 of what people would say are the best sailors of our generation. So incredible stuff. Talking about those rivalries, I would like to ask, because we're almost a year and a month on from the America's Cup, where you lost out to Pete Burling, driver of the Kiwi boat, and you copped a bit of flack in the post-race interviews, where I think when you asked about what the difference between the teams were, you pointed to their automation in their boat, but you kind of said that you felt you had the edge in One Design Racing, pointing to your 49 campaign. Do you feel like a little bit vindicated now, adding this victory over the Kiwis to your scorecard?
Certainly, it feels good. It's always good to beat, not just Pete, but all the SailGP drivers. To be honest, they are, as you say, like the best sailors in the world, and to take that win after coming back and everything that went on in Barcelona, felt pretty good.
Yeah, I bet. So, I mean, I guess the Kiwi fans will see you as Pete's boogeyman now, and you've kind of got a few over on him. I mean, how do you view your position within this kind of elite ranking following the SailGP, win? Is there more to do for Dylan Fletcher to kind of reach the upper echelons, or are you there already?
Oh no, there's plenty more. There's some amazing sailors that have achieved amazing things, outside of SailGP that I still need to keep pursuing, and Tommy's won 3 SailGP grand finals, so there's hopefully just getting started. That'd be nice.
That's excellent to hear about the ambition of the future. Well, thank you very much, and to the viewers, hopefully you have enjoyed this insight into what it takes to put together these laps. And Dylan, all the best for the future. Thank you.